Thank you, and good afternoon. You just saw a number of great examples of how digital platforms are being used to drive tremendous innovation in magazines as they come online and go into multiple devices that are now such a part of our daily lives. And as I think most of you probably know, we at Adobe make a digital platform that is used by a number of you and a number of others to actually create the digital editions of your magazines. And so what I'd like to do today is talk to you a little bit about why we believe, based on some recent data that we've compiled, that digital magazines have now really come into their own and have become a very real, meaningful, and exciting business and a platform for tremendous innovation. So before I dive into some of that data, let me first give you some reasons why you should believe this data and think that it maybe is somewhat indicative of what's actually going on in the market by telling you a little bit about what the position is that we have in the market and who's actually using the platform from which we've compiled the data that I'm going to share with you. We have many of the top and leading magazine brands in America that are now using the digital publishing suite from Adobe. We, of course, also have a lot of publishers in other countries as well, including the top publishers in the Asia region and a number of the top leading European publishers as well, who are all now publishing on this platform from which the data that I'm about to show you has been compiled. What's important about these applications is not just that they exist, but that they also are driving real and meaningful business for the publishers. So this is a list of a recent view of the top grossing iPad newsstand applications. And more than half of those are now built on the digital publishing suite and contributing to the data that I'm about to show you. The last thing I'll share with you about the platform and the significance of the data that we've been able to compile is that we've seen enormous growth that is continuing to accelerate on the platform, which is great news for not only us, but for the industry as a whole, in that you see such stratospheric growth on the number of issues that are being delivered each week on the platform, now to almost 2 million. Okay, so now let me start to share some data that I think you'll find interesting. How successful are digital magazines with consumers? Of course, the first and most important audience for them. We've discovered in the work that we've been doing on all of these magazines that I just shared with you that the large majority of consumers are now actually paying for digital editions in one form or another. Only 22% are actually being consumed on a free basis, and the remainder are either being purchased as single issue editions, part of digital-only subscriptions, or part of print digital bundles where subscribers are actually paying for those issues. Per publication readership is also growing and continuing to grow at a significant rate. You see here on this chart, the lower color is the second quartile, the upper color is the third quartile, and the blue line represents the average that we're seeing across all of the publications on the digital publishing suite system. So you can see that we're getting on an average basis now to about 80,000 readers per publication. And on the upper end of that third quartile, you're now getting 120,000. And of course, there are a number that go higher than that in that fourth quartile. And if you look at this from a percentage basis in the recent months, you can see that this growth is actually continuing to be quite dramatic, where we've seen almost 100% growth just since last August, consistent with some of the information that you heard from some of the other speakers. There are a number of things that we've been working on in this platform that are really important to publishers and are important to subscribers and helping to drive the success and the growth that you're seeing here. As we've heard from some of the other speakers that spoke today, one of the biggest challenges is actually getting readers not just to download that shell application, but actually going into that custom application and actually driving across the finish line into some kind of a purchase event, whether it be the purchase of a single issue or a digital subscription. And so there are a number of things that we've been building in to make that much easier to achieve. One is the ability to do push notifications into the custom notification tray of the different platforms using segmented messaging so that you can actually drive different messages to different portions of those that have downloaded your application. So someone who's downloaded the app but hasn't subscribed may get a different message from someone who's downloaded the app, purchased only a single issue, but hasn't subscribed, right? Because those are two different populations you can hit with two different messages. We've also built in the automatic delivery of content of subscribers via the Apple Newsstand so that you don't have to wait for a download of an issue. It's just there and already all pre-downloaded regardless of the file size. We've introduced a capability of the first issue free. You heard from one of the previous speakers the challenge of downloading a shell app and then the disappointment that Apple sort of put it there for free in the store, and then when you download it, you don't actually have any content that you got for free. So we've solved that problem now by enabling that first issue free, so you go straight into a magazine that you got for free, and then only after you've gotten into the magazine and are enjoying that first issue do you then get the introduction of an offer to actually buy something further. And to that point, we've now added the ability to do what is effectively a digital blow-in card, so that as you are reading that first issue free, you can actually pick the point as the publisher when you think it is the right time to actually make that offer and suggest that the user either buy a subsequent issue or go straight to a subscription. And then last, we've also added an important web viewing capability, which really enables social sharing and viral discovery and distribution of the magazine. So if you're in the digital edition on the iPad and you send a link to an article through, let's say, Facebook or email to a friend or a colleague, that friend or colleague can click on it. It'll be a web link that opens up their browser, and they go right in the browser to the digital edition that is actually rendered inside the browser, and they're able to consume that article and get an experience with the magazine before then themselves having an opportunity to either buy the full issue or go into a subscription. So one of the things you've heard from a number of the other speakers is about the importance of all of the different devices, all of the different channels, the different stores, the different ways that you can now reach readers. And we believe that that is critically important. One of the things that is really important discovery for us in the data that we have is that it really is truly becoming multi-device, not just as an opportunity, but an actual performance. And if you look at this chart, what you see here is that while tablets, of course, continue to be the predominant medium, the predominant device mechanism for the consumption of these digital editions, it's significant to note that of all reading sessions, 23% of them are now actually being consumed on the smartphone, on 4-inch size screens, right? So that's completely additive to what has already existed in the tablet market, and I have no idea what that is. All right, let's get rid of that. There we go. So what you see here on the bar chart, the blue being the tablet consumption, the green being what is net incremental or additive consumption from the smartphone. So it's actually grown the business of the publishers that are now publishing to a smartphone edition in addition to the tablet edition by in the order of 20% to 30% incremental to what they already had achieved with the tablet. The digital publishing suite, of course, is committed, and we at Adobe are committed to continuing to drive innovation with that suite so that it is going to work across all of the channels that publishers care about and where they can find and acquire readers. So as I mentioned, we already are out there with the browser-based viewer. Of course, we're on the iPad. We have the iPhone and the iPod Touch, which is where that smartphone adoption is primarily being driven today. Of course, we're on the Amazon Kindle Fire. We have Android support on Android tablets, and we are adding this year support also for the 4-inch Android phone form factor and adding Windows 8 immersive style application support as well. So it becomes possible now with this one platform to create a single innovative edition and then to actually get leverage from that investment you make in driving innovation to reach all of these different end consumer channels where you can actually drive readership and consumption. Of course, there's another very important audience that we all care about, not just the consumers, but also the advertisers. And one of the things we looked at in the data that we've compiled is whether or not these magazines are proving to be successful with advertisers. So we did a study, and in that study, we learned some very good news for all of us, for the industry. We saw significantly greater engagement with interactive versions of the advertisements in the interactive magazines, the full digital editions, as compared to the flat and static PDF replicas to which they were being compared. Even more exciting than the improved engagement was we saw a 2-time product recall. So the product recall ability of end users or readers when they were engaging with an advertisement in the interactive edition of the magazine and where the advertising had interactivity was double the level of recall that they were able to achieve when looking at a flat or static page in a PDF replica. So very, very significant results there. But let me give you some other hard numbers that I think will further make the case that this is an incredibly meaningful opportunity for advertisers and publishers. we work with Top Gear magazine, and they have allowed us to share with you some of the data on what they experienced when they went from PDF replicas into using a full digital edition with the interactivity and the more immersive experience on the digital publishing suite. They saw in the 3 months after switching over to DPS a 40% increase in total downloads, a 62% increase in paid downloads, 79% increase in single issue revenue, 165% increase in their subscription revenue, and most importantly, a 200% increase in advertising revenue. Incredibly, incredibly powerful results, and here's part of the reason why. If you look, these are the issues, the individual issues from the bottom up is the sequence of time of Top Gear. So you see issue 234, 235, 236 on up the chart. And when they switched over to the interactive issues on the digital publishing suite using this digital platform, you see a significant increase in the time that is spent per read, and an even more dramatic increase in the total time that is spent per reader with that issue of the publication, such that it effectively tripled or even more than tripled, right? That kind of engagement and length of time spent is obviously very meaningful when it comes to driving results for advertising. So I want to close with an example of some of the great interactive advertising that we've seen on the platform to give you a flavor for what advertisers are doing on this platform. So you can see there are some great examples, not only of great interactive advertising, but also some very powerful top brands that have decided that this is a meaningful platform for them and that they are investing in as well. And so with that, I will wrap up, and thank you.